And
Here
once
we
you,
go.
yeah, once you tell me that, good.
It says
All right,
live.
here we go. Hey, I'm Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic. I am here with my friend who I have not had the opportunity to sit down and talk with about anything, movies or anything other than that. So I'm really happy that Kathia Woods had a moment to sit down and chit chat with all the things that are going on. Kathia, one of the things I always like to do, and I don't even know all the things you're doing today because you every time it changes. I mean, you got more things on the docket. So can you talk a little bit about what you're doing now in terms of writing and so on? You're probably gonna tell me you're writing a book. I bet you're probably gonna say that.
My book is still a work in, and but I'm still working on my book, but it may not, it's not going to get done in 2023. It may be almost done in 2023. Um, so I am still contributing to Philadelphia Tribune, doing a ton of that. Um, just had an article on Found that was published today. Did a whole roundup for all the holiday films that Black people are going to be in, and that
Oh,
was a chore. So that came out on Tuesday, but it's also up on the website. And then we have I do a regular segment on Reality Check with Tanya Pendleton every Wednesday on Word, which is the largest Black owned all talk radio station in the country. It's here in Philadelphia. So I do that every Wednesday with her. Then I still post stuff on my own site, Couple Soul Show. And, and then tonight I'm covering a concert and doing photography for that. So
wow.
doing my music thing. And somewhere along in between, I managed to have time for my family, my dog. If you follow me, you know that my dog is as my daughter likes to say, the wind beneath my wings. We got him a new blanket. If you've been following me on that, he's very particular about his blanket. So we found a winner. Does he love it as much as the Marriage Story blanket? No.
Really? A
But
new blanket? Really?
yes, he has a new blanket. Is quite luxurious. It has like lining and it's fur on the outside because my guy don't like nothing but top shelf. And so he's living his best life, and he's wearing his new collar that was purchased for him when I was in vacation in Brazil, because of course.
Well, good. At some point, we have to, because I know I'm not probably going to even watch all the holiday movies you watched. So at some point, we should talk about your list of holiday movies. So
Yeah,
maybe,
and I made it so easy that it goes for a chronological date starting in November, what station, what time, so you don't even have to be like, you just set your DVR or whatever you got going on and live your best life.
well, if we are so lucky enough to have a chit chat on next week, I'd love to talk about holiday movies because holiday movies are all the rage. People can't wait for them to come on. It's like I think Hallmark does theirs like so early. It's
They did
crazy.
Christmas in July too.
So I'm positive that people will be ready for that. So I'd love that. Today, hopefully, you and I can talk about three films, and the first one I really want to talk about is the one that it took me a minute for it, and it's All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt. And this is a story about a young lady in Mississippi, and basically her life, but it's not shown in a chronological way. You kind of see it, you see parts of her life at one point in time. And I got a chance to speak with the director. And the director, what she said was that she wanted this film to kind of wash over you. She didn't want it to be so linear and so direct, but be one of those films that uh, I guess took you some time to absorb, so to speak, and kind of wash over you. That wash over you was her statement, and I will tell you is that while I'm watching the film, I thought it was shot beautifully. I really do. I thought that the way in which it was shot was beautiful. I I, but I was at times saying to myself, Katya, okay, what is she saying here? And I hate having to ask the director, what are you saying, without coming away with some thoughts on my own. And I will tell you, I personally, I just had a tough time figuring out what were you really saying about this character, about their life, and all of that. It wasn't a hard watch. It just wasn't. Maybe I just wanted to be linear, and I was upset with myself before for not loving this movie. I want to be clear. It's not that I didn't like it, that I think it's a terrible movie or anything like this, but this wasn't one of those movies that I was like, oh my God, you just have to see it. And the reason I was upset, Katia, was that I talk to people all the time that saying you need to watch some different movies than the ones you're watching. Sometimes our diet makes us say that we want the same thing. Everybody in this house knows that I like chili, and I could eat chili every day for 364 days a year. Christmas, I want something a little bit different. But if you made chili, I could eat it almost every day. But that's problematic when you want to when your diet is so limited. And so that's one of the reasons that I wasn't too happy that I didn't love this film. It didn't hit me the way in which I would have liked it to have hit me. I think it was done well. I think the actors were well. It was shot well, but something about it didn't resonate with me fully.
Um, I think the film. I was looking at my notes from Sundance. I think it's visually stunning. I think it is. I like the music, and I like the colors. I think it is a movie that maybe I need to see again, because while I got the gist of it, these two girls lose their mother. They go live with family. Um, and they have two different, like, their life is, because of that loss of their mother, they struggle a little bit. Um, and it shows you the heartache that you go through when you lose a parent when you're young. And although they had love, it wasn't the same. Do you know what I mean? Like, their father was a little distant, um, naturally, for having lost the wife. But it also, I think, gives a very glimpse into a different type of Southern life. You know what I mean? A Black Southern life in small towns and very rural area, the sense of community, the church, which looked like the church slash schoolhouse. I like the texture of the hair on the girls. But I do think it's a movie that and I saw it at Sundance. It wasn't like I had like my phone out or anything. It was just, I think you need to soak it in a little bit more. It's not, if your person doesn't like a slow burn, this is not going to be the movie for you. I do think that it's a type of film where you kind of like need to see it again to lean into what the director is saying. But it is visually beautiful.
I love the fact that you brought up things like the church and uh, the church in Mississippi, and I think that's why I like to discuss this stuff as opposed to just write my stuff by myself. I like the discussion so much more than the dialogue, than the monologue. And um, when you so I'd be curious, and I can't wait for Donna, my wife, to see this because she spent time in Mississippi. She was one of those kids where she was sent from Chicago to be with her grandmother. Actually, spent a couple of years going to school down there. Uh, uh, I've never lived in the South, so I wonder if that's another thing that might have been like how did I really understand all the things like the clay, eating the clay, and why they were digging for specific kinds of clay. um and and I'm looking at that as like they were doing what? Huh? Are you serious? My mom would slap me for eating dirt. um but I do agree with you that the textures just overall, there's this one scene where the dad and the mom are looking at each other. She's dressed up really, really nicely. I don't know if you remember the scene, and they kind of look at each other like, yeah, it's about to be on. And they get out there, they dance in a romantic, loving way. I just think that she took such care of her characters. They just didn't all resonate with me, so to speak. And I think you might be right. Maybe this is one that I just have to watch again because it totally is a slow burn.
Someone in the chat is asking, what movie are we reviewing? It's All Dirt Roads, Taste of Salt. That's the movie we're talking about, Cheryl.
And I don't know. Do you know when they're gonna release this one?
A24. I want to say, hold on.
And see, Cheryl's from the South, so she this one might speak to her, but it is a slow burn, and I don't think you should watch this. If you watch this at
November the
home,
3rd. So
coming out. It's coming out
it's coming
next
out
week.
soon. You know why it seems like this has been a little bit longer because I know, because I saw it at Sundance, and some of these movies you're like, ooh, it's been almost a year, but it's made its festival travels, and it's November 3rd, and it's an A24 film.
Yeah, is this gonna have a theater release or is this gonna
Yes,
be
A24 is, yes.
okay? So I think this is one that if you're interested in this film, you should see on the big screen.
100%.
It does look phenomenal on the big screen. Well, I'm gonna switch gears. I'm gonna say, let me not switch gears yet. This would be um, a matinee movie for me. Like I say, go watch it, but I'm not thinking like
Yeah, in the afternoon.
I'd run out and go check it out.
I did not eat. She said, Donna said, I did not eat red clay.
I did not see. Now I'm in trouble. I did not say my wife ate red clay. Okay. Just move on. Just move on. So is this a watch it for you, Kathia?
I do think, yeah. Sometimes it's like you said. Sometimes it's important for us to get out of our comfort zone. So I do say it's a watch it.
And Donna didn't hear that I did say I like chili and I'll eat it every day. And so that's just a hint for her to make some more chili. She makes great chili. Anyway, the next film you wanted to talk about, you sent me a text message. I don't even think you got out of the theater before you sent this text message. Reggie, make sure you watch We Grown Now. It is an important film to watch, and make sure you interview the director. Well, because of you, as usual, I did both of those things. But tell us what this one is about, and also tell us why you were so like, this is one that I need to see.
It's my favorite film from TIFF, Toronto International Film Festival. We have been asking, at least I have. I feel like if I throw something out on Twitter in terms of what I want to see in content, it ends up happening, right? I said, we need a Black Cowboy movie. We got The Holiday Fall. We now got Bass Free. We have a couple things, right? Because Lord knows there are more stories to be told of us in yesteryears other than slavery. And not to say that we need to stop telling those stories, but there is life after slavery and there was life before slavery. Give us that too. But I've been begging for a coming of age movie for young Black boys. That is not we in the gang, we trying to be rappers, the usual, or we're trying to be ballers. And why those stories are part of our DNA, they're not the only ones. What I love about this movie, number one, the two kids are out of this world. So good. And they're super cute. You just want to squeeze them. It takes place in the Cabrini Green project, but it's not about the projects per se. It's about the working class people that live there, why they live there. And it shows you that they're everyday working class people, like everybody else, just trying to make $1 out of 50 cents, the struggles that they face. But what I also love is that their families are involved and that their families love. And the family structure is not dysfunction function, right? On the one hand, you have the one boy that lives with his sister, his mother, and his grandmother. So you have generational. The grandmother moved here from down south. And then, I love how she says, what did she say in the movie? She goes, I don't miss the place, I miss the people. Because
Love
she
that.
left because of, Jim Crow and all this other fun business. Then you have the other family, which you have little Rel, which is a father, older sister who's going to college, and the boy. And the father is a widower. And the father is, like, he works, I believe, at a pizza establishment. And, it shows, like he has the money laid out on how to pay, like how they're paying the bills. Again, when people say people live in the projects for free, now that movie shows you them, they're paying rent, just paying cheaper rent, but they are paying the bills. And the friendship is about these two boys and how they lean on one another. And one of the things that they like to do is they like to flip on mattresses. We all as kids flipped, whether we flipped off our parents' bed, we flipped in the backyard. We were all doing, and that now to think about it is when we were doing it when we were kids, baby, we were not thinking about the outcome. We were just thinking about it would be cool to do it. We weren't thinking about broken bones. We weren't thinking about any of that. We were thinking about if I do this flip, I get to brag for a good week. So they get these older mattresses and they flip on them, or they would be in one of the abandoned apartments or empty apartments and just look up and daydream, right? And what I love is they poured into each other, they supported each other and everything. And their friendship is so special because these two boys, because of what their families are dealing with, which is financial struggles, some personal struggles, are each other's support system, to a point where they're so close that one is always eating dinner at the other person's
That's right.
house and
That's
vice
right.
versa. The siblings, and also it showed you the movie also is about community, the community in the projects, right? Sadly, it also shows you the stuff that the people have to endure and how things change. But most importantly, it showed you that the people that live in those buildings are community. They look out for one another, they support one another, how they have their chairs in front of their apartment and they may play cards and they may drink coffee, like I sit on my deck. All of that is very familial. And also, the last part I want to say is the fear of moving up is a legitimate one for us as Black people. The idea that with success doesn't mean we will lose community, right? Moving into the suburbs, moving into a better school district for your children, moving into the house of your dreams. It's not going to be, in this day and age in the inner city per se, and if it is, it's going to be more or less gentrified. What does this mean moving up? And it's a real fear. And the fear of losing your community, losing a sense of yourself. And also, will I make it? Because
Yeah.
we don't have the luxury of failure, right?
Yeah.
So that type of thing. And again, the dialogue is so smart, where the mother is telling the daughter, right, lean into it.
Yeah.
We don't, that's so important because again, what were we taught? Reggie, tell them, get a good job, have the security. And I get it because our parents grew up in insecurity.
And
So
that's
but to
exactly.
have her say that, come on now.
That's exactly. So I thank you again for having me. Saying Reggie, make sure you see this movie. It's one of my favorites of the year. It's really close because it you know how you love everything Philadelphia and everything Brazilian, excuse me, whatever. Um, I love this look of Chicago. I love what
Yeah, you
they
what? That's why I said it. I was like, I gotta hear if he likes the Chicago part.
I love this look because I know these kids. My mother worked hard to keep us out of places like Cabrini because of the gangs and so on and so forth. But what this director did, and I butcher her name.
No.
And-
We'll talk about that in a second, but talk about the Chicago piece some more.
but what she did with Chicago is she used these interviews to make sure that these people were authentic. And so when you say that the dialogue was so right, is that as a Chicago person, I was saying, "Yep, I know that kid. That jumping off the mattress and flying. I know those kids. So those are some of the kids who would be Jesse White tumblers. The fact that you put your chairs outside of your apartment. I know that family. The fact that you're having these discussions about not having water or not having heat or the elevator's not working. I know those, and I know that's universal. But in Cabrini Green, I know that. And then the thing that I also loved is that my sister actually worked at Byrd Elementary School. So the fact that they had Byrd Elementary, she worked. My sister Sharon worked there. I don't know, maybe 10 years. So I worked a half a block from Bird, so I knew that community. I was there before they tore down the high rises, and the fact that she was able to use that and and show hope. What she did here is she showed that sometimes you know you're poor, but you don't know you poor because the situations are the kids are saying this is how I live, so let's have fun with whatever we can do here. Let's daydream and look at the stars. Let's jump off these mattresses. Let's run around and that type of thing. Let's go to the museum and check out some things there. So she showed the full spectrum of Chicago, not the full spectrum because there's so much here, but she showed Chicago in a way that kids exploring it and coming of age, which worked for me.
I also love that we've been talking a lot about when people are not of our background, how to handle that subject matter. Let's give her credit though. She is from the Chicago area. She's not from Cabrini Green, but she did grow up in the Chicago area.
And she's not African American.
And she did a year's worth of interviews with residents of Cabrini Green. And her goal was always to have a story centered on two boys. That was going to be in there. The shape and what type of family and how those boys were going to move through that film was because of those interviews. There's a humanity there. There is not a condescending, there's not a judgment there. These are people we know. And I feel like if you're from Chicago, you ever reside in a Cabrini Green, or just you're Chicagoan, you should feel extra proud because she did you justice. And I think as Black people, just as people, we know these people. We know those struggles, right? That fear that she has, or where she, her mom, again, tells her to go up for the promotion. She's like, well, I didn't go to college and this, that, and the third. And discovering that she was making so much less money than her counterparts, right? And again, the mom leaning in and being like, well, go for it, right? And the end, I'm going to say how it ended, but I love where we don't talk enough about when we have friendships as kids, right? Close friendships like these two boys, and one of you moves away. That's crushing to you as a kid. That's your buddy. That's who you run with to school, homework, Halloween costumes, movie dates. That's who you play with. You make plans with all summer, especially our generation that played outside so much. We didn't have the cell phones. And now one of you is leaving and your friend is like, what's going to happen to me? Who am I going to be with? Like, my guy is leaving. And I love that they got to show their emotions because it's like, it's a breakup of some sort.
Yeah, it is. I have to jump, right? I have to jump in here and say that what I also like that was done here is that while they were friends, they didn't have the same view of the world.
Nope. One is more fearless.
So this is real important how they showed that they actually had conflict among each other on a number of things because they didn't view the world exactly the same. And the reason I think that that's important in this particular film is that we always want to act like we are monolith, and you say that all the time, and we're not. And these kids looked at the world differently, and they should have, because one of the important things that I feel that the director did in this is we had a single mother and a single father. So the single father treated his son a little bit differently, still lovingly, but differently, because that's a man working with a young boy. And the mother treated her son a little bit differently as well. So I just think that overall, this is this for me. We could talk about this for days. So
I mean, when he's leaning in on the fence, he's like, "Remember our mantra, right? You are somebody," like telling him to hold on because there's stuff going on in the building, right? And when they're saying goodbye, he said, "You want to know the secret, right?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Let go of fear." And the other little boy is like, "That's it?" He's like, "Yeah." And that, in my mind, I'm like, when he's older and he's afraid of wanting to do things, he's going to remember that friendship. He's going to remember, what would so-and-so do, right?
yeah,
Oh, let
yeah,
go of fear. And, also, like I said, is the one is a little bit stronger and more confident, right? And I don't want to say smarter, but he's probably more book smart, right? But again, the fact that he knew that his friend needed that. He needed some. And I also love how the dad was going, "Hey, people make mistakes in friendship. Are you sorry? Well, then go tell him you're sorry. Let him know. Like, tell him before he leaves. So again, the parents in this also. Little Rel, to me, this is my favorite
oh,
performance of his.
oh,
So good. Everybody's chef's kiss. I'm telling you right now, Black people, because we're not doing this in 2024. Well, y'all gonna sit there and talk about what we didn't know. This movie's gonna come to a theater near you. Sony bought it. I need you to take your little boys in
yeah.
your life, your
And,
nephews, your whatever, godsons, whoever's in that circle of yours, and run to the theater.
and we'll
And
talk
I need
about
you to turn off your phones. Don't do that. And look forward, because it is a joy. And it's also beautifully shot.
beautifully shot.
Beautifully shot.
So we'll talk some more about this film when it
Yeah,
comes
but
to.
I'm glad I did. And you know what? Tell you something else I did, which I normally don't do. I ran out of that movie theater, looked up the publicist, and said, "I absolutely want to interview this director." So I went from seeing the movie and interviewed her at 4:00.
See
Best thing ever.
that it was. I put up a clip of my interview already, a part of it, and it was really great being able to talk to
She's
her.
a
So,
good conversationalist, and she is appreciative of those of us that our counterparts. Sometimes they think the project has got to be blah 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 blah, but that's why we're here for.
yeah, this is a must see for me. This is a must see,
Oh, like
and
I said, is grab your little boys, because they need to see themselves in this light. The
and and
friendships.
and I buy that. Grab your little boys. I want to say grab all your children, because I think our little girls need to see our little boys like that. The view in which we give of our boys is always one of a negative viewpoint, and so our whole community thinks gets scared of our boys. So
No, they're beautiful, and they're
let's
also, like I said, is I pray that the strike gets resolved. I want these little boys to have
yeah.
their red carpet moment.
And I'd love to sit down and talk to him. All right. Well, we're gonna try to get in one more movie before we get out of here, and that was, what did you want to talk about?
American Fiction.
You want to talk about American
Oh,
Fiction?
can we talk about American Fiction? Now,
Uh,
this is a different type of movie. Now, you know how we always say people love Black culture, they just don't love it from us. This is a good example of it. So you have Jeffrey Wright, who is a professor, and he is very serious about his business. And he wrote a book, and he is trying to sell his second manuscript. And because it is from Black people, by Black people, and it's talking about the authentic Black experience, it's very serious. It's not getting bites. So he decides to come up with this idea as a tongue in cheek. He writes a real ratchet book on Blackness. Real, when I tell you ratchet, it is ratchet.
But hold on, Katia. But you missed a really really important point. Is the reason he came up with this idea to write the Ratchet book is he's at this book conference, and
Yep.
and there's nobody there, basically like 5 or 6 people there, and he asked the person on this panel, "Hey, why don't we have more people at our panel?" And they said, "Well, there's this other author over here who is crushing it." He walks over to see who the other author is, and then
Issa Rae.
is played by Issa Rae, and she's just at the point where she's getting ready. And this is in the trailer, so you can watch the trailer for this. She's just at the point where she's getting ready to read an excerpt from her book, and it is a bestseller. I mean, the place is packed.
It's tacky.
It's
love and hip hop and all reality shows wrapped into a book. And it is bad.
Right. So she reads it and be like, this is how we be. You know how we come about this thing. And, you know,
you're just like.
And this is a bestseller. So now he's really, really pissed off. And to get back to your thing, he's now saying, okay, I'm going to show these people how ridiculous, how asinine this kind of writing is. And I'm going to write something and I'm going to send it to them and they're going to read it and they're going to say, nah, you right.
And the point is he takes as ever bad as her book is, he goes Mach 10 and writes a worse book. And then he sends it to his agent and his agent's like, hold up, like, what is this? He's like, shop it. And the agent's like, this is terrible. He goes, shop it. What? Let's see. So the agent's like, all right, but I'm telling you right now, like, and of course there's a bidding war. And they're offering him, when I say to you, a lot of money. Now, mind you, he's a college professor and he's also trying to help take care of his mother. So he's not making a lot of money. So he now got to make a decision. Do I stand in my morals or do I lean in and use this money to be able to help my family? In this case, his mother, who's played by the amazing Leslie Uggams. And you know what I mean? So you just are like, how are you trying to do it? So naturally, this thing starts getting a life. And they're going to publish it. And the white editors, they're like, oh my God, it's so black. It's so real. And he's like, so he also now can't be himself, right? Because he got to be ratchet because he wrote this ratchet book. So he takes on this persona and he has this really, Jeffrey Wright already has like a very specific voice. And then he has this really deep voice and he's like, and it's like, we're all laughing in it. But at the same time, it's sad because you're like, really? That's what we're doing? And then he even pushes it more. And the title of the book is the F word. And you're like, what? They're like, I don't know. But they go, you know what? Let's go with it. When I tell you, as we are kiki and ha-ha, the sad part is because it's so true, they want blackness, they just don't want it. They want their version of what they think we are. But the other part of this film is the family life for Jeffrey Wright, right? He's estranged from his family. He has his sister, and his sister is a doctor played by Tracy Ellis Ross. She's not very long in this movie, but she's like, hey, you have to come and help with mom. Their mom is suffering from beginning signs of dementia. Then you have Sterling K. Brown. That's why he had that ridiculous hair. He plays a brother whose wife left him because he's coming out as gay, and now he's leaning all the way into that. Like being crazy.
Can I say a towering performance?
Yes.
I think Sterling K. Brown put in a performance of a lifetime as this character. He needed it to be a over the top kind of character, and he absolutely nailed that character in my opinion.
He is the annoying brother, not because he's gay, because he's just he's just out here having fun, and you trying to get your mom situated, and he out here trying to live his best life because now he can be his authentic self. And we're like, we understand that, but mom still needs to be taken care of, and he ain't got time for it. Then you have Eric Alexander, who plays their neighbor. They have a summer home by the beach, and Erica is across the way, and she's separated, and they start a romance. I also love this for Erica Alexander because this, I think, is the meatiest role that she had in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But there's so much going on, like as he's trying to navigate this personal relationship, reconcile his relationship with his mother, with his brother, and at the same time, and to make matters worse, so this bad book that's getting published and selling, mind you, way better than his first book, is now being considered for a literary award, and he's been asked to be on the committee with Issa Rae and two white writers to consider the book, and he's like, it cannot win, right? It just cannot win. And the white writer's like, it's so deep. and then him and Issa get into ethics. But again, the whole fun of this movie is making fun of the industry. But here's the key thing: other people looking at it, not us, because we get it. Do they get that they're part of the problem? Because when they write about our works, they seem to write these long essays when it's 12 Years a Slave or whatever. But when it's something like American Origins or something that's more authentically Black from Spike Lee, that's coming from a Black point of view, they talk about everything but the racial component of it.
Yeah.
And this really is a conversation on a bigger issue. But I just love, like, he just keeps throwing stuff out there thinking, like, at some point, somebody's going to stop me.
Somebody's going to stop me. This is a very smart movie. It's a very thought-provoking movie. All the performances in this movie are done very, very well. I am more than pleased that they brought Leslie Uggams out. I mean, people don't know, if you don't, and I know most people don't even know who she is, but if you don't know who she is, young people, you really do need to look her up. She is an American treasure. So I'm so happy that they brought her out. I will say that it's saying something about the industry. It's saying something about our relationships, our family relationships, and I like the fact that they put that in there. And when we look at, and it says something about our romantic relationships, about telling the truth, what we conceal, and so on and so forth. And I think Erica just looks beautiful.
She looks gorgeous, and she looks like a woman of maturity.
Oh my goodness!
Which we, too often, like, when we look at women over 40 in these types of things, you're just like,
she looks
women like over 40
she looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
She and the way in which, from a costume design perspective, and what they have her wearing and everything, I just think that it just really works so well with this character. And I agree with you. I think this is one of those meteor characters that she. I mean, she has some fun characters with, like, that girl show where she's a little bit mean and
a little narcissistic, yeah,
a little narcissistic. But I like this Erica Alexander. So I don't know when it comes out. It's going to be soon, though.
It is going to be soon. But again, this is where you have the writer director was formerly a journalist, and it comes out of his experience in working in these newsrooms, and they're like, well, can you make it a little blacker? Can you make it this? And he's like, no.
Yeah, can you interview the person with the head with the bandana?
Not appropriate. Yeah. And so that comes out of that. We've all been in work environments, sadly, when people are like, well, can you be a little bit more? And you know what they mean, but you play down because you want them to say the quiet part out loud.
You want them to say it out loud. Huh? What are you saying?
Well, so what are you saying? Well, it's just, not. And you're like, not what? And again, and the crazy thing is, watching this movie, I know this will work in real life, where you put material together, you become this persona and pretend to be this idiot, and people would eat it up. Well, we already have 1 million followers and all that stuff.
We already know, because I mean, you're still your roots are in the music industry. We already know that happens in the music industry, where people will take on these personas, acting like they're one thing and they're not, and it's successful for them. They didn't come from some hard knocks environment, but all of a sudden they're supposed to be the most gangster rapper that there is, but has never seen anything even close to that. So we know that is true. This is one of my favorites as well. I can't wait for people to see what Jeffrey Wright, with all of them, but Jeffrey Wright does a really,
and just the fact that he's just. And again, we've all been there where you like do choose my integrity or choose a check, a very nice check. You know what I mean? Because bills are still due at the first of the month. Yeah, and in his case, he had a mama to take care of. He needed to move her into a home. She needed to have supervision. And, those homes aren't cheap. You can't just put your mama in anything,
Absolutely. So this is funny. It's layered. It's sad, but true. And for me, this is a must watch. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And just the way that you're gonna laugh and you're gonna be like, nah. Just when he decided to rename the book, I'm just like,
Right.
really? And
That's
they're
going to
like,
be a classic scene. It's
yeah.
going to be a classic scene. Well, look, I am so glad that I got a chance to chop it up with you on a couple of movies. There's a lot more because we've seen a lot at these festivals. So hopefully we'll get back together sooner as opposed to later. I have been a little lax on that. Um, if you don't know, that's Kathia Woods. She's everywhere. She's everywhere. So just find her. She's everywhere. I'm Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic, and I want to thank you guys for joining us for the Real Critic Roundtable, where African American critics come to discuss, debate, and have a little fun. We'll see you next time. Of course, it'd be smart for me to find out where my record button. That would be smart. Bam.